I was in a band. I've shared this before, but it's never not funny that I was in a legitimate boy band for a while. And while I was in this band, we were, I was like 20, I think, when I joined the band, and I would take the train from Chicago to Downers Grove to sit in the bass player's attic bedroom, and we'd all just jam and rock out together, and we'd write music, and we'd try and record it, and it'd be terrible. And at a certain point, we're like, we need to start getting noticed and discovered, so we need to start making these things into videos so that we can share this great music that we're creating. It was pretty good. So as we were creating these videos, I knew nothing about video. I'd filmed a couple videos on my dad's handheld camcorder, and the first video that we made was on my dad's handheld camcorder, all auto features. It was terrible, low quality. The pixels were all squished, so we all looked like unnaturally skinny. It was out, the aspect ratio was off. It was overblown highlight. It was a mess. And it was really bad, but we made it, and I edited it together. I'm like, I made a video. It's bad, but I made it. And then we're like, we should probably step up our game a little bit. So I've told this before, so I'll summarize, but I found a mentor, a guy who makes videos professionally, and I said, Dave Hunter, do you mind if I borrow a camera of yours? And he's like, here's a camera and 3 lenses and all of my lights and my cases and my audio equipment. So he just gave me everything he had, and he told me what to do with it. And then I went out, I made a video, I came back, he's like, this is terrible, but you did it pretty good. Here's what you did right, and here's all that you did wrong. Try again. Went back and made a few videos. So at the time in our story, I had probably made like 8 or 9 videos, and they were slowly working their way towards better. But we had this opportunity. We said, we need to like really get out there. So what we should do is we should partner with a popular YouTuber. Her name is Haley Klinkhammer, and she's still awesome, doing way better than our band is doing. And she was so kind as to say, like, yeah, let's do a joint process. We'll all work together on something. So we got together. We drove to Wisconsin, long road trip. We brought all this stuff. We found a location. And then as we were filming, we're like, we need to make sure the video's good. Like, this is a cool opportunity. Haley's incredible. This might be easily our most viewed video we've ever made. We need to hire a pro. So a friend of a friend said, I have this friend of mine. She just graduated with a degree in cinematography. She's a film and video expert. We need to hire her. She's going to do a great job. She literally just got her bachelor's degree, graduated. She's been studying this for 4 years. That's who you need to hire. So we're like, great, we got a pro. So we make this video, we do all this work, and we only had this one day to do it. We're like, we have to film it today because she has to go home to Wisconsin, and we're not coming back tomorrow. We don't want to come back tomorrow. It's a long drive. So we leave, we go home. A week later, we get the footage from the pro, and we open it up, and we're like, this must be a joke. Like, this looks like awful security camera footage. The color's wrong. Everybody looks orange. We all look like The Simpsons. And it was like, the lighting was bad. Everyone's face looked washed out. It was overexposed. I'm like, what an offensive job you did filming us. Like, I'm physically upset by how you have made us look on video. You're supposed to be the pro. Like, what happened here? Like, whatever you paid for college, ask for a refund because you did. I have never in my life taken a single class on how to make a video, but me having made 8 videos poorly with borrowed equipment looks better than what you just sent us right now. It was so bad. And I think it's so funny that even at that time, even then, like, I went on from that point just through mentorship and trial and error, trying my hand in the field, making things, failing, trying again, getting better, asking questions. I ended up becoming one of the, I would probably say, one of the best choices for a wedding videographer in the Chicagoland area, and one of the best commercial videographers in the Chicagoland area, especially as an independent, where there's a large organization that I worked with them for years. And then once I began leading this church, I said, hey, I can't work with you guys anymore. This year, they said, hey, Danny, I know it's been 3 years and you said you don't do videos anymore. Can you come back? We've worked with several other teams and we like working with you. You charge a reasonable price. You always deliver on time. You add so much to it. And I've never taken a class in my lifetime. So that's not to say I'm wildly talented and I've done something that no one else can do. What I would say is that instead of being a student in the traditional sense of I'm just going to sit and watch and learn, and that's it, it was much more effective for me to go out and do and learn from the people that are also doing And that's where we get to what I would say is a really good picture of the difference between learning like a student in a classroom setting and discipleship. And I agree, it is good. Jesus cares a lot about discipleship because discipleship is so much more effective than classroom learning. There's an enormous difference between those things because even there, as a complete amateur who practiced making video 8 times, somehow outcompeted the classroom expert that had only ever learned things in theory. Because if we only learn things in theory and never put them into practice, then I don't know if you're really somebody I want to learn from. Because it sounds like you have a lot of good ideas, but we have no idea if your ideas even work. There was a story that was how at the time where communism was a popular idea, there was somebody, I wish I knew the details on this, but they basically were like an academic scholar, world leader of saying, I have perfected communism, I've figured it out, all the other people, they don't know what they're talking about, but here at my desk, I have solved communism and I have all the answers and I can create the utopia. So the government decides, let's try your ideas. Immediately fails. Hundreds of thousands of people dead and starving. Cities stop functioning. Like it's an absolute disaster. And that person was a really good student, PhD, leading academic in the world. But when it came time to put those theories into practice, they were absolutely useless. They were actually worse than useless. They were almost an active destroyer of things that used to work. But if they had discipled, if they had spent time practicing or found someone who was doing it right and learned from them, which there is yet to be someone who does that right, then maybe things could have gone differently. Just a little point of order there. But I think even that kind of same way, I want to just describe this a little bit more. So a disciple, the way it differs from a student. And it's funny because the Greek and the Hebrew word for disciple kind of literally translates to student or learner. But it really a better, more practical way to think about a disciple is an apprentice. And a student sits in a class, they watch the teacher talk about things. There's no practice, it's just watching them talk about things that they've practiced. Then the teacher goes home and the student goes home and that's the end of it. See you next week, or maybe tomorrow, who knows. But an apprentice goes where the teacher goes and does what the teacher does. So it's not a matter of saying, okay, tell me some cool tips, and then you leave, and I guess I'll just keep thinking about those things, and maybe one day I'll be great at them. But the apprentice is saying, you make shoes, tell me how to make shoes. Let's walk together. I see how you talk to the customer. I see what equipment you're working on. Can I try this? I'm going to put my hands on them. I'm seeing, I did this wrong. Can you show me? Let me watch how you do it. They're in the mess. They're in the battlefield. As Vito Lacascio said last week, you're in the wild. You're not studying in this private little classroom where everything is theoretical. You're actually getting your hands on things. So a disciple goes where the teacher goes and does what the teacher does. And in Jesus' time, discipleship was an existing word. It was an existing paradigm where if you had, let's say it was a master something. Let's say it was a master chef. I want to be the best chef in the world. Then what I would do is I would find the best chef in the world and say, I want to apprentice under you. I want to disciple under you. I don't want to do it how I do it. I don't want to figure it out on my own. You're the best. I want to learn and absorb everything that you know so I can become like you. So I shadow you. I sit next to you. I watch you. I serve you. I work with you and alongside of you for days and days, weeks and months and years, maybe even decades, until there comes a day where I look and think and act and do exactly what my teacher does. And then there comes a point where the teacher says, you have learned everything that I have to teach you. Now you will fulfill my role. You'll do what I did because now you know everything I know. So now you can do the same. And then better yet, that student would then take on a new apprentice, a new disciple. And they'd say, okay, now you are going to learn how to do exactly what I do. Maybe they could even take on 2 or 3. Say, I'm going to teach multiple people. And now rather than just having one master chef, we've got a team of 4, a team of 5. And then if they do the same thing, on and on it goes. This was God's plan for how to make the world look like Jesus, was through not just teaching, was through discipleship. Because Jesus could have just said, hey, everyone, here's what you got to do. Good luck. I'm going to go find my quiet place and just hang out there. That's not really what he did. He had his 12 disciples where he said, you're going to go where I go. You're going to do what I do. And eventually you will replace me. And then my command to you is make more disciples. Discipleship is the plan. It's like a beautiful divine MLM scheme. It's like it somehow just works, you know? And it's how it's supposed to be done. The MLM, multi-level marketing, that's the counterfeit. Jesus and discipleship is the real deal. So my question for you today is like when I'm trying to think about who I want to learn from, there's a really good advice I heard on Instagram, I think, but somebody just said, I don't even know who said it, but I just remember them saying that when you want to learn something from somebody, when you're trying to choose a mentor, somebody to teach you, make sure you want your life to look like their life. Because if their life is a mess and it's falling apart, then even if you know all the right answers, it doesn't seem like it's working in your life. So maybe you haven't put it into practice, or what you're putting into practice doesn't work. So I want to know that your life actually looks like a life I want to imitate. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but like, speaking of Instagram, the videos that pop up of like people who are like, I saw a video recently because we've been renovating our house, and I got to do drywall recently. And I saw a video of someone, they put the screws in the drywall, and then you have to mud over those screws. I've been notoriously terrible at learning how to mud walls, but I'm getting better. And I saw a video of like, I'm trying to do it. I get the putty out. I'm trying to like get it just right. I got to go over it like 100 times before it's sufficiently flat, just so that by the time it dries, it can look bad. And it's like, I try so hard to do that. And then you watch a video of somebody online who's like got their putty knife and it's just 3 nails, they're smooth. Next one, 3 nails, they're smooth. I'm like, this is what that's half an hour of work that you just showed in that 3 seconds. And they're just incredible at it. Or people who like, I've seen videos of people quartering chickens on like a jigsaw. So there was like this saw blade going up and it's just like shwang, shwang, shwang. And I'm like, the amount of times I've sat at the kitchen table, like slowly trying to figure out how to do this and nick and bone, and it's making a mess of things. I'm like, you did it in 3 seconds. Like, you clearly have spent tens of thousands of hours getting really good at this. You ever see someone fillet a salmon who knows what they're doing? For me, it's like this slow carve. I'm losing half the fish just trying to get the skin off it. The scales are all caught up in the meat. I miss bones. It's a mess. And then you get people who are just like, boom, bam, shiki, 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 boom, we're done. Like, it's ridiculous. Shiki, shiki, shiki. It's incredible. So when we're choosing who we want to disciple under, we have to make sure that it's not just somebody who has a lot of good ideas. I want to disciple under the person who spent the 10,000 hours not just watching, not just trying, but winning. So when we're thinking about a pro, the person we want to learn from, my question is this. When it comes to ourselves, and let's relate this to our spiritual successes, if you want to call it that. Spiritual practices, if we talk about fivefold even. Apostles, how many things have you built? Pastors, how many people have you cared for? Evangelists, how many times have you shared the gospel? Prophets, how many times have you given a word that actually connected with somebody? Teachers, how many messages have you taught and communicated to people and seen the light bulb click? My question is, how many games have you watched? How many games have you played? And how many games have you won? If I wanted to pick up pickleball, it's very popular right now. If I wanted to pick up pickleball and I had to choose a coach, and I have 3 coaches in front of me, the first coach says, I have watched 1,000 games of pickleball. I know so much about pickleball. I've watched it, I've studied it, I've looked at it, 1,000 different games. I've watched every single one of them, and I would like to coach you. Go, okay, 1,000 games, that's a lot. That's a lot of pickleball you've been watching. Another person says, I have played 1,000 games of pickleball. 1,000 times I learned how the ball bounces and learned how to swing the paddle and learned where to put my feet so that I'm best positioned to kind of move and react to something. I say, wow, 1,000 games on the field sounds a lot more valuable than you just watched 1,000 games. You might not even know how to play the game. First time you step on a field to play for the first time, you might have no idea what you're doing. So I'm going to take the guy who's played. But then the third person says, I have won 1,000 games of pickleball. I've probably played 5,000, but I've gotten to the point where I have won, been victorious 1,000 times in pickleball. Who is the coach that you want to teach you how to play pickleball? I want the C. Yeah, option C. I want the person who knows how to succeed, the person who has the victory. They've spent enough time in the field where they actually have it. It's not a theory, And it's not, I've been out there a few times. It's, I have become a master of this and I've proven it by my efforts. That is who I want to apprentice under. You teach me everything that you know, because clearly you know how to win this fight. So when it comes to discipleship, we can think about this differently. That's more of a physical skill, but let's think about this spiritually. Evangelism. How many games have you watched? How many stories have you heard of somebody else sharing the gospel in this amazing testimony of, oh, it just connected and they broke down crying and they said, I give my life to Jesus. I'm so excited. I'm coming to church tomorrow, and their whole life turned around. How many of those have you watched and heard about? I've heard a lot of those. But how many games have you played? How many times have you attempted to say, hey, can I talk to you about Jesus? Have you been on the field and made that invitation? And it doesn't mean you won all of them, but at least I tried. You know, like I got out. It was kind of a mess, but I gave it a shot. How many times have you played that game? And better yet, how many games have you won? How many times have you said, hey, can I talk to you about Jesus? And I've done this so many times that as I talk to you, I've just learned how to connect to people. I've learned the kinds of questions that people want to know the answers to. I've learned the kind of hangups that people get stuck on. And I'm prepared with an answer because I've already played this game so many times. I actually have seen this exact scenario play out 50 other times. I messed it up the first 30, but the last 20 went pretty good. And I'm actually prepared now to answer everything you have to say. And I've actually seen, you know, again, have I heard 100 testimonies? Have I made the offer to 100 people, or have I actually seen 100 people come to Christ? There's a big difference in that. So my question for us, and same thing too, prophetic words. We talk a lot about hearing the voice of God, sharing it with another person. How many times have you heard God said something to somebody, it totally wrecked them, it changed their life, it was this powerful word, great. How many times have you given a prophetic word? I don't mean successful. I don't mean confirmed testimony and we're going to write it down and you're going to tell it from the stage. Big, cool thing. I don't mean that. How many times have you just tried? Win or lose, have you just tried? And then how many times have you given a prophetic word to someone and they said, yes, that's true? How many times have you actually seen it happen? You know, we have Abide coming up, which is so exciting. Chuck Perry, who leads the healing rooms at Bethel, that's very exciting. And we've said it before, Chuck does not have anything we don't have. You know, if Jesus gave to everyone the same measure of faith, that means he gave everybody the same frying pan and told us to cook. But just because we all have the same equipment doesn't mean we're all equally good at cooking. So Chuck, it's not that he's got a better frying pan than us. He's just been cooking for years. He's just been cooking, and he's probably messed up a lot of meals. But at this point, 9 times out of 10, this thing's going to be incredible. Let him cook, baby. So Chuck, he's a great cook too. Yeah. He's told me he's actually quite a cook. He's very good. But Chuck has just been cooking a long time. So again, the same thing. When it comes to healing, the process of laying hands on the sick and seeing them recover, Chuck has maybe won 1,000 games at this point, but I'll bet you he's played 10,000. It's not that Chuck has something we don't have. And to become like Chuck, if I want to see that same victory that Chuck has, I'm going to have to watch and play a lot of games and lose most of them before I get to the place where I'm consistently winning. But that's not going to happen because I heard a good verse and now I've got it. It's not just this immediate flip. A lot of the times it's saying, I need to plant a new seed and I need to water it day after day after day after day after day. And it might take 2 or 3 years before this thing actually grows. We like to celebrate things that are instant in the church. I was immediately delivered. I immediately broke my addiction. I was immediately healed. We love those, but let's not forget discipleship is not an immediate process. Discipleship is a seed that's planted and it's watered and it's maintained and something that bears fruit. I don't know a single plant on the earth that you plant it in the ground and in the same day it's bearing fruit. There's not a single plant in the entire world that God created that behaves that way. So when he refers to us as branches and vines and fruit-bearing organisms, why would we expect it to be the same for us? Some things just take time. And I think a really great thing, if we go, we'll get there. I'm just going to pause. I just want to remind us of a couple things. Jesus did not invite people to church. That was not his ministry. It was not come to church. Just come to church tomorrow and then you're good. If you come to church, you will be saved. That was never the thing. Every single time he talked to somebody, his invitation was not come to church. His invitation was not here's a track for you. It was follow me. So several different times. Matthew 9:9, Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. Follow me. What does Matthew do? Gets up and follows him, just walks on away. He goes over to Simon Peter and his brother Andrew. They were casting nets because they were fishermen. And Jesus just says, come follow me. He doesn't even, there's not even a sales pitch described. He just says, hey guys, what? Yeah, come follow me. Okay. I don't know if that's exactly how it went, but that's how it's described. So they do. And then, so at once, they left their nets and they followed him. Going on, they saw two older brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father preparing nets. Jesus called to them, hey guys, come follow me. Immediately, they left their boat and their father and followed him. Bye, Dad. What? So they're gone. Yeah. So that's how it happened. Jesus. And so then also the rich young ruler who says, I have a lot of success. Look at all these wonderful things that I have. He says, but what do I have to do to enter the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus answered, if you want to be perfect, go sell your possessions, give it to the poor, and then you'll have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me. Come along. Just come with me. Like, follow me. He found Philip. He said to him, follow me. Matthew 1:43. 20 different times in scripture, Jesus just says, hey, if you want to experience this kingdom, if you want to experience the life that I'm talking about, if you want to experience the healing and salvation, if you want to be a part of what I'm doing, then it's not just a matter of like, I'll come to your town once a month, I'll give a great message, and then I'll leave again. He's saying, no. Leave what you're doing. You're doing it a certain way. And if you love that, keep on going for it. But if you want to do things this way, if you hear the kingdom I'm talking about, and you want to be a part of that, you're going to have to come follow me. You're going to have to drop the things you're currently holding. But I'm a fisherman. I can't follow you. Okay. Well, do you want to keep doing what you're doing, or do you want to do things a new way? Because doing things a new way means I might have to leave a few things behind and actually follow you. And that's not, hey, sign up for my online class. This is come and go where I go and do what I do. This is practice on the field. This is apprenticeship that they're being invited into. This is discipleship. Disciple is used over 250 times in the Bible. What's kind of funny is Christian, the term Christian, is only used 3 times in the Bible, and it's actually used in a derogatory sense. Like Christian was kind of like an insult that outsiders gave Christians. They said, oh, look at all these little Jesuses. Yeah, you guys think you're all just little Jesus, aren't you? Because Christian means little Christ. Like, oh, you're just a little Christ, aren't you? So cute. It was actually like an insult given from outsiders to the Christians. And it was Peter later on eventually says, just own the name. Why not? Yeah, we are trying to be little Christ. Like, why not? But it was actually not even like Jesus had used that language. Peter adopted it from culture, saying, yeah, let's just be Christians. And in the world, we've kind of done this thing where Christian and disciple really don't mean the same thing. Christian kind of just means I've checked the box when I get a research poll and I check the box of, what religion do I ascribe to? I check Christian. And that's kind of the end of it. Have you prayed the prayer? Are you team Jesus? That's enough. Christian, check the box. But being a disciple means do you follow Jesus? Do you go where he goes? Do you do what he does? And Barna did really interesting research where they looked at the United States and they said, okay, 71% of people in the United States self-identify as I'm a Christian. I have prayed the prayer. I have accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I am Team Jesus. So, okay, 71% of Americans self-identify as Christian. But then they said, okay, well, let's try and match that against data that says, how many of you guys, and they defined it like this, how many of you live like disciples of Jesus actively, embracing the key tenets of Christian faith, including believing in the accuracy of the Bible, trusting in Jesus Christ for salvation, upholding biblical teachings on morality and behavior, and actively practice their faith in daily life. So what would it look like to be an actual disciple? Like I'm following Jesus, I'm paying attention, I go where he goes, I do what he does, I believe what he tells me. And then when they lined up how many people are doing that, that number was 4%. So 71% of the United says, I'm Team Jesus, but only about 4% of that 71% is actually doing what Jesus was doing and going where Jesus was going and living with that same kind of faith and belief. And I don't know exactly how strict they were when they were trying to figure out exactly who was doing all these different things. But even if that number is 20%, even if the number is 50%, that's still a lot less than 71%. So it means that there's a difference between being a Christian and a disciple. The modern church has reduced salvation to the conversion moment. I just need to get you to pray the prayer. Now you're in the kingdom. Have a great time. Like, my work here is done. No discipleship has happened. None of it. And it's not come follow me. It's like, no, come go to church. And then now my job is done. Maybe they take it that far, but even then, that's the end of the journey. You're saved. You're in the kingdom now. But Jesus did not talk about the kingdom as you'll get to heaven one day. He said the kingdom is here. The kingdom is now. So are you in the kingdom? And do you live like a citizen of this new kingdom? Because if Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, then life and truth kind of come along with a certain way of doing things. And the only way to learn the way to do something is to watch and to learn and to try and to eventually learn to imitate and become like the person we are focused on, because we become like the things we focus on. So when we reduce it to just that conversion moment, I just told you about the kingdom and then my job here is done. I want to bring us back to the parable of the sower. So we'll bring this up. Yeah, a lot of you know the story. It says that a farmer went out to sow some seed. Some of it fell on the path that never really got below the surface. And it says the devil come and snatched it right up, or the birds came and snatched it right up. They said some seed fell on the rocks. It went down a little bit, but it never really got depth to it. And then that one dried up and withered and died. And then other ones fell among the weeds, and the plants grew up, but so did the weeds, and the weeds choked the plant, and then they both died. Well, I guess the plant died. I think the weeds did just fine. And then it says, but there's this little bit, there's this, 4% that falls in good soil, and that grows up healthy and strong. It yields 10, 30, 100-fold. It really gets it. The seed really makes it in, and it really grows, and it really multiplies. There's a little percentage that does that. When we think about evangelism as just about getting them to pray the prayer, that prayer is the seed. But the seed being scattered does not mean the seed has taken root, that the seed has grown or the seed has spread. And I want to read what it says at the end of this in Matthew 13. And we'll read it out of the Message, because the Message kind of adds good language to it. But it talks about how parable of the sower. So he says the word is the kingdom, or the seed is the message about the kingdom of heaven. So it's been spread. And then once it lands, it says if it just lands on the path, the devil can just like whoop, snatch that up, gone. So it's like you never even heard the message of the kingdom. It's just gone. And you might say, my work here is done. This person is saved. Whoop, bird takes it away. It's immediately gone. Like, what work have you done? Maybe I planted a seed. It's like, well, you scattered a seed. But did it actually hey, let's actually take some time to make sure this gets in deep here. And yeah, this is so Matthew 13, parable of sower, the Message. There we go. So it says, so a farmer planted the seed, scattered the seed, some of it fell on the road. Let's jump down a little bit, David, to where he's explaining it. I think it's around verse 18, maybe something like that. It's in there. Is this the one? Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, here we go. So study the story. When anyone hears the news of the kingdom and doesn't take it in, it just remains on the surface. So the evil one comes along, plucks it right out of that person's heart. It's like the seed was never even planted. This is the seed that the farmer scatters on the road. Next verse. The seed cast in the gravel, the rocky path, or the rocky soil. This is the person who hears and instantly responds with enthusiasm. Oh, Jesus is great. I love this. This is so amazing. But there's no soil of character. So when the emotions wear off, it was a cool mountaintop experience, but then today just kind of feels like a normal day. Yesterday was so fun. It was exciting. There's always cool new feelings and emotions, but today just kind of feels like Tuesday. Maybe it didn't work. I guess it didn't work. When there's no depth there, when the emotions wear off and difficulty arrives. Wait, I thought Jesus means everything. He's going to just take care of everything, but this is still hard. What's going on? Then there's nothing to show for it. And then it's gone. It's like the seed was never even planted. The seed cast in the weeds is the person who hears the kingdom news, but weeds of worry and illusions about getting more and wanting everything under the sun strangle what was heard, and nothing comes of it. I want to follow Jesus, but I also want a Maserati, and I'm going to have to do some shady business deals to get the Maserati. So Jesus, you can hang out too, but also I'm going to go and get this thing. I'm going to go cheat some people. I'm going to figure this thing out, and also I don't want to talk to the estranged family members. So like, Jesus, you're with me. I know you love reconciliation, but like, I'm going to do it my way here. It's kind of like I have a foot in both kingdoms kind of thing, but both grow and the weeds tend to choke that seed that's planted. So there was still something missing in discipleship. The seed was planting, I was learning, but it wasn't affecting how I lived my day-to-day life. And then they strangle what was heard. But then that 4% of seed that was cast on good earth is the person who hears and takes in the news and then produces a harvest beyond his wildest dreams. That takes discipleship. That takes watching, focusing, learning, cultivating something that's not just skin deep. It actually gets all the way down to the heart, and we'll learn how to actually bear fruit. And this is what I think a really, really great excerpt from C.S. Lewis's Screw Tape Letters relates to this exactly. So the idea of, again, I heard the good news, but I didn't actually want to change. C.S. Lewis in the Screw Tape Letters, if you're unfamiliar with it, he, in a fictional sense, pretends to be writing letters from like the head demon to the lesser demons that are haunting and messing with people. So he is saying, this is probably what the demons in hell are saying when somebody gets saved. In this part of his letter, someone has just said the prayer, had the conversion moment, and the little demon's boss is writing to him. I think it's his uncle, right? So the demon's uncle is writing to him after having heard that your patient, the person you're tormenting, has become a Christian. So we'll read it how I imagine a snarky little demon uncle would be. My dear Wormwood, I note with grave displeasure that your patient has become a Christian. Do not indulge the hope that you will escape the usual penalties, but in the meantime, we must make the best of this situation. There's no need to despair. Hundreds of these adult converts have been reclaimed after a brief sojourn in the enemy's camp. The enemy in this case being Jesus. And they are now again with us. All the habits of the patient, both mental and bodily, are still in our favor. And he goes on in the rest of this letter to say how just make him irritated, just give him some hardship, make him focus on how annoying the haircut is of the person sitting in front of him. He said, like, the church is a great threat to this conversion, but the church people are actually going to help us win him back because the church people are so annoying and frustrating. So he goes on to say, don't make him focus on Jesus, make him focus on all his little annoyances, and all of his habits will bring him right back into the enemy's hands. So we look at this saying, well, as long as you pray the prayer, you're done. It's like, no, discipleship has not yet happened. That has, okay, well, I'm in the camp, but a bird plucks it right up. The enemy's got strategies. He's got plans to get you right back on his side. Even if I check the box, that doesn't mean you have become like Jesus. It doesn't mean your faith is firmly rooted or bearing fruit. John Mark Comer has been talking a lot about this lately. He's got a whole platform now and book and practice thing that he calls Practicing the Way. And a lot of what he teaches is a big part of kind of what inspired this message, where it's not just enough to pray that prayer, but what does it mean to actively follow Jesus? And he says the three pieces of that are to be with Jesus, to learn how to be present with him, because I can't learn from him if I don't see him. Even he said, I only do what I see the Father doing. So do we know how to see what he's doing? Both in the spirit, in the present, and also in his word? Do we know how to actually convene with him and be present with him? The second one was to become like Jesus, not just seeing what he's doing, but then doing what he's doing, and to truly become like him. So to be with him, to become like him, and to do what he does. This is active discipleship. And I want to go to Matthew 16, verses 24 through 27. So Jesus said to his disciples, and I want to really try and get into what does it mean to be a disciple here. What he said to his disciples is, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. I can't remember who wrote it, but there's one of the lead sociologists in the world right now. They said one of the defining marks of this generation in the United States is radical individualism. of I am the only one of me and I'm very special and I'm going to do it my own way. I don't need anybody's help. I'm going to be the best thing the world has ever seen. There's a lot of that, but radical individualism is actually not the primary focus, I think, of our faith. It's not to become the most like me, which I do want to be my best self. He wants to see us in the fullness of who we are. But if it means I'm going to do it all my own way, that's very contrary to Jesus' teaching that our goal is to become like him. Our goal is not to do it our own way, and we will. Our individual character will shine through. But we actually are trying to learn his way, which there's a part of this is saying, denying yourself, of saying, well, I want to do it my own way. Jesus is like, try my way first. I think it might go a little better because you can try your way, but there's only one way and truth in life, and that's me. So can I guide you in that? Can you do it my way instead of your way? And even Dave Ramsey talks about this. He'll have young people come in, internships, new hires that say, hey, I have this new idea of how to manage money, and let me show you how I want to do it, Dave Ramsey. And he's like, hey, how have you managed your own money? Do you have any success in this way? They're like, well, I haven't really tried it. It's all theories, right? And he says, how about this? You learn how to do it my way. You watch what I do what I do, think like I think. And when you've got that way down, then I want to hear your new ideas. But my guess is that if you learn how to do it my way, you'll realize your ideas will not work. And it's not even a pride thing. It's just saying, I've been in this fight long enough to know it works. You have some great ideas. Learn my way first, and then we'll see what ideas make it through that furnace. And whatever lasts might actually be a great idea. But don't think you can do it your way without knowing my way, because my way I know is good. In Jesus' sense, he's saying, hey, you are an individual. There's a lot of things you'll do your own way. They're new expressions of the kingdom that I want to funnel through you. But learn my way first, because your idea might not even really mix in here at all. And if your way is contrary to my way and they don't actually fuse, we actually might be working against each other. And that's not going to be a good situation. So but it says this, whoever wants to save their life will lose it. Whoever loses their life for me will find it. Again, the giving up of the self. And he also says, in that first verse too, everyone wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. To me, how I read that, the idea of take up your cross, what does it mean to take up your cross? The cross for Jesus was the price that had to be paid to set something right. So whatever we're doing in our life, if we're going to follow Jesus, if we're going to be builders of the kingdom, if we're going to bring heaven to earth, we're going to have to set things right. And to set things right, there will be a price that has to be paid. Somehow or another. If I want to be effective in politics and I want to rescue politics, I'm going to get slandered. I'm going to get resistance. I'm going to get attacked from all sides. I'm going to experience betrayal, and people are going to try and trick me and corrupt me. There is a cross I'll have to carry. But if I do it, maybe I can finally set things right. If I want to see orphans find homes, if I want to bring orphans into my home, there's going to be struggles. There's going to be old habits. There's going to be yelling and kicking and screaming and a whole change of culture. And there's going to be tears. There's going to be grief. And there's going to have to be changing and prices paid. But I will carry it because that's what it's going to cost to set something right. So to be Jesus' disciple means to go where he goes, do what he does. And part of doing what he does means carrying the price that it's going to take to set something right. This is a sign of a true disciple. And another excellent verse for this is John 15, 5-9, and this little preview of Abide. I'm not a speaker at Abide, but this is my 2 cents on it. As he says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, and abide, another way to translate that is home. Whoever makes their home in me, who lives with me, who stays with me, doesn't just see me on the weekends, but whoever makes their home in me and with me, whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. And apart from me, you can do nothing. I'd skip back down there to verse 8. By this, by bearing much fruit, by this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit and so prove to be my disciples. So what's interesting about this is proof that you are a disciple of Jesus. If you're wondering, am I a disciple of Jesus? Proof that you are actually a disciple of Jesus, one of the ways we know is that you're bearing good fruit. And is it good fruit in like, I have a summer home in Destin? Or is it, I have a lot of followers on TikTok? As you know, like, what is the proof here? Is the proof I've seen all the Marvel movies? That's a success. That's an accomplishment. But there's a difference, and David Brooks is an author who draws a really good distinction between resume virtues and eulogy virtues. What he calls a resume virtue is I'm really good at closing sales, really good at analytics, really good at marketing. I'm useful to society in that sense, in my function. But a eulogy virtue is the kind of things you hear at somebody's funeral of like, man, when they walked in the room, they just lit the whole place up. Like when I talked with them, they made me feel seen and known. They made me feel cared about. Like they always feel like they had enough time for people. They didn't feel like they were always rushing out of the room. They really just focused on you and made you feel like you mattered. Man, they had this joy that was just, even on the worst days, you could never see that smile move off of their face. Man, they were so patient. They went through so much hardship, and they were just so steady through all those things. These eulogy virtues, these character virtues, these are the fruits of the Spirit. So if we're going to bear much fruit, he's not talking about material success. He's saying fruits of the Spirit. Do you have righteousness, peace, and joy? Joy, patience, kindness, self-control, righteousness, goodness. Are these the kinds of things that are being born out of you? And like Jesus saying, you are a vine, he is the vine, you are the fruit, or you're the branches. Even vines, if left on the ground, will grow wild. They'll grow branches that are fruitless. They may just flat out die right there on the ground. But a good vine dresser kind of builds supports for them, and it guides them and structures them. And those that learn and follow the vine dresser's leading and kind of live in the structure that he's setting out, they begin to bear fruit, not overnight. But if we commit to the process, we walk with him, we learn from him, we do what he does, then we begin to slowly bear these spiritual fruits, these eulogy virtues begin to be present in us. And it's saying there in John 15 that one of the ways you prove that you're a disciple is that the fruits of the Spirit are evident in your life. So you glorify God and prove that you're a disciple by this. And the question is, who's teaching us these things? We have so many educational systems teaching us resume virtues. I can find a photography workshop anywhere. I can learn how to manage my money. There's workshops for those. If I want to go back to school to learn any skill, lots of those. But who's teaching us these eulogy virtues? Who's teaching us how to have strength of character, goodness and kindness and patience and self-control? Where are these things coming from? And I think if we're really going to get this, we have to disciple under Jesus. He's the source of all of these things. We're not going to learn them out there in the wild. And even if we hear how to do it, that's not the same thing as walking it out with someone. It's not the same thing as having somebody next to us who knows how to win the fight, coaching us, guiding us, supporting us, helping us not just once a week, not just here and there, but actually consistently walking through us in our own life and helping, and I mean discipling. Like it's me and you. I am here until you do what I do, until you actually get it. Whether it's self-control or patience or joy or peace or forgiveness or being a good father or mother or being a good son or daughter. If it's learning how to be a good spouse, whatever it is, are you with somebody who has the victory that's going to walk with you all the way to the point where you now also have a marriage that looks like their marriage, that you have kids that look like their kids, or that have the same character of their kids, that you have a career that's fulfilling to you like their career is fulfilling, that you mentor people like they mentor people. Are you learning, discipling, walking in the way of Jesus or in someone else who models him well? In Matthew 28, what I love about even the Great Commission, Jesus said, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations. Make disciples. The Great Commission is this. It's saying, learn from me until you look like me and do what I do, and then teach somebody else. This is the big plan. And the question is, are we doing that? Are we actually learning? Do we see what he's doing? Are we becoming like him? Are we doing what he's doing? Can we see it? And are we doing it so that we can teach other people? And if we know it, maybe we're perfect. We're a perfect representation of Jesus. But are you teaching anybody else? So I want to go back to this question of, how many games have you watched? And I mean, really think about it for a second. When it comes to your spiritual health, the fruits of the Spirit in your life, the things in your life that look like heaven, how many games have you watched? How many games have you played? And how many games have you won? If you've watched a lot of games, you've been to a lot of church services, you've attended conference, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on this, but you haven't done it, my encouragement for you is get out in the field. Go try it. Ideally with a coach. Find someone who is doing it, get next to them and learn to do it like they do it. If you've played a lot of games, but you're not winning any, You may need a new teacher or a new disciple. And maybe the problem is you, and you're being too stubborn, and your teacher's great, and you're just the problem. Who knows? But there's also a possibility that your teacher does not have the victory that you're trying to gain, and you need to actually find someone who does have it so you can learn from them. Maybe that's the case. And if you've won a lot of games, disciple somebody. Somebody out there needs your victory, and you've won it. You found the way and the truth and the life. Share it with somebody. That's our duty as especially elders. When we have a victory, we share it. We said Jesus descended into hell, grabbed the keys, and then came back up so he can give them to everybody else. If you've been through hell and you've come out victorious, that means you have the keys to that jail cell in hell that somebody's currently sitting in, whether it's marriage or finance or home or who knows what it is. If you've been through it, share it with someone else. Set them free. You have what they need. This is part of Jesus' model of seeing the world saved and the world looking like heaven. So a very practical way that I want to follow this up is, as family life, as a church, we want to help connect people in this kind of way. Because teaching on a Sunday, hearing one message, and then being disconnected from everyone else the rest of the week, that's not going to result in a lot of life change. There's not a lot of plants that you water once a week, go home, and then a week later, water them again, and then leave. Like, that's not a great, as a gardener, you would know, that's not a great way to see a plant really flourish. The vine dresser's out there every day tending to it. It's actually involved in it. So we have two boxes over here, two little bins. One says, I would like to be discipled, saying there's an area of my life, or maybe it's just my general spiritual health, whatever it is. I would like to be discipled. I would like somebody to sit with me and teach me how to do things because I'm struggling. It's not working. I'm hearing everything I should do, but none of it's actually happening in my life. And I need someone to show me how to actually do this thing because I know what I should do and I don't do it, and I need help with that. If that's you, put your name in the bin that says, I would like to be discipled. And if you're someone who has seen victory, not everything, you don't have to be perfect. You might just be one step ahead of the student, like the piano teacher who's only one step ahead of the person they're teaching. You don't have to be perfect, but if you have anything to share and you say, I would like to sit with somebody and help go through it with them, I might be in just as much trouble as they are, but I want to sit with somebody and go through this with them. Then there's a second bin. I would like to disciple someone. I want to be available to apprentice someone else, lift them up, grow them, encourage them, strengthen them, share my victory with them, help them to see the same victory that I have seen. Then put your name in that bin. And then as a team, as a staff, we're going to sit there and we're going to match people up and we're going to help disciplers and disciplees find each other so that we can begin to have these interpersonal relationships with each other that build us and strengthen us into actually looking like Jesus. And one other kind of practical note is that if you're on any of a position of service in our church, you've probably seen an email about this, but as just an announcement for everybody as well, that beginning in November, so not this Sunday, not next Sunday, but the following Sunday, not next Sunday, but the following Sunday, beginning in November 3rd, I believe it is, we're moving back to a single service. We may notice there's room in these seats. On the next service, it's a lot more full, especially when there's a meal after the second service. There'll be a lot more people there, but we did the numbers, and I think we have enough where if we kind of shift things around a little bit, we can fit everyone back together again. And there's a million reasons why we love that. It's a lighter lift on our volunteers. It's just good to all be together. There was a young couple that showed up to one service, and I thought, man, there's so many young couples I'd love to introduce to you, but they all sleep in. And they're going to be here at the next service. But you should come to that one because, man, I got people for you. But if we bring everyone together, we allow people to all connect with each other, and we think that's going to be beautiful. And then I think one of the most exciting things on the topic of discipleship is that with that one service, we want to encourage people to meet before service or after service with the people who you are discipling or being discipled by. So we might not have 2 full services, but we'll have more time for individuals or maybe small little groups of like 3 or 4 to be able to meet and talk and discuss about what's going on in your personal life. How do I walk with you and teach you something on a much more person-to-person kind of basis? So whatever that is, I want to encourage you, if you want to be discipled, you would like to disciple, or you want both, My name is in both bins because I need help. I do not have it all figured out. And I'm going to need some help from someone who has done things I have not yet learned to do. But I also know some things that I can teach to somebody else. And I want to be available for that. So we're being poured into and we're pouring out, I think is a very healthy place to be. So I would encourage you all to put your name in one or both of those bins at some time today. They're right over here. I'll scoot it on up. And I'd just like us to begin connecting with one another in this discipleship, apprentice kind of way, because Jesus' job was never just to teach, throw out the truth, and leave. He was a person who walked with people, invited people, walk with me, do what I do, become like me. That's the kind of relationships we want to see growing here. So let me wrap it up in prayer real quick. Jesus, thank you so much for being our teacher, that we get to apprentice under you. Thank you for sharing everything you know with us. Thank you for showing what you know with us. Thank you for leading us and guiding us, teaching us how to do it like you do it, by being visible to us, reachable to us, and that you desire us to become like you. You invite us into what would otherwise be a very exclusive position, but you invite us in to watch your ways, learn how you do things, and become like you. God, it's a beautiful invitation. And God, may we reflect who you are and how we lead others into the same victory that you've given to us. And God, may we obey your command, just that simply, in making disciples of other people, of all nations, that everybody would get a chance to be led and guided towards you and becoming like you, that victories would be shared, not just kept in a basement in a locked box somewhere, but that our victories would be shared amongst everybody. And that we'd have the patience, the compassion, the love for people to step into their lives with them, walk alongside of them until they have indeed received that same victory. And we're all built up together in that process. We just pray you bless the whole process of discipleship, that pairings, that people find who they need, that carry the victory that they are looking for, and that true life change begins to happen in this person-to-person kind of growth model. We love you, God. We thank you for this. And we pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.